Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, what a great event, right? So I try to try to do my best to make this interesting for you. How many of you have heard of Tanium before? Okay, just a couple of hands. So actually, we are quite a new organization in this part of the world. What I'll do in today's presentation is that I will introduce the company, I will introduce the solution, and then I will try to tell you why, as a partner, you should partner with us. Okay? So first and foremost, we are not a new company. We are 15 years old now. We just came to this part of the world a little bit late. So it was in 2019 when I was hired to set up ASEAN. And then, of course, with the pandemic, we couldn't fly and all that. We are finally in Thailand. So 15 years old, but really only two years or so in ASEAN. In that 15 years, we have actually got out and won a lot of very large organizations. You can see them on this slide. Many of the Fortune 100, 5 branches of the US Armed Forces, which is representative of government as well as military. And then 9 out of the top 10 US banks, which tells us that many of the large financial institutions use us. And then you can see 70% of global retailers, which are it actually looks very similar to our kind of business, very regional, many branches, a lot of endpoints in many areas to protect. So that's the type of solution that we offer. In terms of the company, our founders originally founded BigFix. It was at BigFix where they felt that there was a problem. The problem was that no matter how good the solution is, customers continue to have audit failures, they continue to have breaches, they continue to have many problems with the endpoint. And it is not due to BigFix that there's a problem in the endpoint. It is due to the fact that the customer didn't know where to install. Therefore, if it's not installed, it's useless. Sometimes the agent dies. Sometimes the conflict of software on the endpoint caused the agent to die, and so on. So there are many issues. And as a result, they founded Tanium to resolve those issues. So that's the company. In terms of solution, this is the problem that we're trying to solve, the problem of endpoint complexity. I think as a reseller, one of the things you must always think about is whether you do network business or endpoint business. The network business seems easier because you plonk a box in and configure everything at one single location and you're done, right? But with endpoint solutions, you tend to have to touch every single endpoint, and it is a problem. And the problem leads to the lack of visibility of endpoints and stuff like that as well. So if we look at the legacy challenge, this is how many organizations roll out their endpoint solutions. For every endpoint solution you try to roll out, there's an agent to roll out. The agent needs to report to a management console. When you need to scale, you need many distribution or relay servers. So when you look at it, it is very, very complex. If you're just rolling one solution, you think it's just that one solution. But to the customer, there are many agents already. There are many distribution servers, many relay servers. And so the architecture is relatively complex. At the bottom, the 2 red dots represent the agents that have died. When you roll out 10 agents, different agents will die on different endpoints, and it adds to the complexity. On top of that, in order to try to do more, or to try to ensure resilience of the whole architecture, you double up on the hardware to make sure there's high availability. You pipe logs to your SIEM or to your CMDB to try to get visibility on the whole architecture. And beyond that, you are actually putting a lot of manpower to maintain structure, to maintain the infrastructure, such as the relay server and distribution server, that really doesn't quite contribute to the actual solution. It is a necessary evil, many people think, right? So when you go into an organization and you ask your customer, how many Windows endpoints do you have? Depending on who they ask in that organization, right? If you ask the antivirus person, they will give you a number that they see on the antivirus console. If you ask the patching person will give you a different answer because the patching console shows something different. And then you ask the desktop person, ask the server person, you get different numbers. How do you manage, how does the customer manage, how does the customer secure an enterprise where they can't see everything, right? So therein lies the question of my topic today. The topic of my presentation is around crisis management. With so much complexity, when there's a crisis, what actually happens, right? The customer wakes up in the morning, or maybe it's halfway through the day, they get a news. The news is that, hey, there's an emergency, something went wrong, something is down, some application is down, some server is down, or something, a service is down. Naturally, the board of directors for the organization are concerned. What happened? Is it a security breach? Is it a hardware failure? Is it, you actually don't know, right? So they will call the CEO. The CEO may call the CIO because it's an IT issue. The CIO may call the CISO because, hey, it looks like a security issue. Inevitably, what will happen is that a team is put together to try to figure out what went wrong. The question here is that this team, right, how long does it take to put together a team? But more than that, how fast can the team get down to the bottom of the matter to try to tell the board of directors what's going on, right? Actually, most board of directors, I think, will give the team 2 hours to come up with the answer. But actually, we all know in IT it's a lot more complex than that. 2 hours is a short time. Can you possibly do it, right? Now let's come to a scenario that I'll paint for you. I'm going to do a demo shortly. This is a scenario for the demo. I'm just going to ask, if there's a vulnerability with Firefox, how fast can your customer organizations find out how many versions and where the Firefox are installed? How fast? How fast do you think? If you ask your customer, how fast do you think they will answer? And then on top of that, if it is a security incident, if there's a malicious MD5 hash, maybe the Thai cert gave up an alert. There's an MD5 hash that is known to be bad. How fast will your customer organizations take to find that MD5 hash? Okay, I'm gonna switch to a demo. It's just 2 simple instances. In theory, this demo should be fast. Okay, as usual, we must log in and 2-factor authentication, right, to make sure that it's secure. This is the Tanium console. When you log in, you will see how many endpoints you manage in your environment. We are very deliberate. We want to show you an environment where there are a lot of endpoints. So you can see 900 over endpoints. We are not going to show you one endpoint. If it's just one endpoint, for sure it will work. But many organizations, when they are large, they are faced with many endpoints, so the environment needs to be big enough. So let me just blow this up. Down here, you see a bar. We liken this to a Google toolbar. And you can actually ask what's installed as an example. This is just normal English, right? I hit enter, and actually, the system will come up with possible questions that you might want to ask. And I want to ask, get installed applications from all machines. Let me find it. Right there, actually, on the 5th line. So what we are doing here is that we are not reading off the database. The demo environment has 900 machines. We are going to each and every one of the 900 machines to get back answers. And you can see, right, this indicator down here, let me just blow this up again. This indicator down here, 100%, means that we have gone out and we have taken back 100% of the 900 machines. Answers from these 900. So now I can filter. And I said I wanted to find Firefox, right? So I will just filter by Firefox. And you can see that in my environment, I know straight away, in seconds, I can tell you exactly how many Firefox is installed and what versions are installed. And I can drill down into each of these to find out which specific laptop or PCs have this Firefox installed as well. Now let's go back to the second example. We are looking for MD5 hash, so I'm just going to type MD5. And oh, here you go, get running processes with MD5 hash from all machine. Since it's a running process, we know that it is related to the application that's open, right? There's no way that this can be off a database. I am really going to each and every endpoint to interrogate, to say, tell me what running processes are running on you. If it's a database, it's yesterday's data, it's no use. We actually need the current data. So again, you can see in seconds, we'll get to 100%. So it's 100% now. And okay, with MD5 hash, the interesting thing is this, right? You know that I have 900 over machines here. The question is, how come I have all these processes that is just 111 in terms of count? In theory, if my enterprise has 900 machines, I expect 900 copies to be running. Or if it's maybe something like a Word document or something, maybe some employees are working, some are not, then you should see a few hundred at least, right? It should not be a one. If it is a one, it's a outlier. It is something that we can investigate. So you can actually go and, if I scroll down, hey, this line, let me blow it up a bit. This line here looks like a rootkit daemon, right? So if it's something that is of concern, I can investigate. I can also go and deploy action. When I deploy action, it's already pre-built in the Tanium system. I can, for example, kill the process, or I can quarantine the endpoint as an example. It's already built in, and I just hit it, it goes, it's done. So in crisis management, what we are saying is you need something to be very, very fast like this in order to try to mitigate the effects of a crisis, right? You need to be able to respond fast. You need to be able to tell your bosses what's going on fast. The board of directors will need it within 2 hours, but actually we are going to give it to you in less than 30 minutes. Because when it comes down the chain, the person in charge of Tanium will be able to get that for you. So the question most people ask us is, how come Tanium, how come you can do it so fast? What's different, right? This is the traditional legacy architecture that I shared with you earlier. You have one server, but because you have many locations, you have many endpoints, to try to scale the endpoints, you will say, you need distribution server or relay servers, right? So the second tier in there, the middle circle, you see the relay servers. The relay server actually slows you down. And in a lot of endpoint management, the question of DDoS, right? When you talk to your endpoint and the endpoint talk back, it is a bit of a denial of service on the server. So the server can't act very fast. So what does Tanium do? So Tanium patented a linear chain architecture. In the linear chain architecture, when we go down to a subnet, we basically talk to the first endpoint in the subnet, a .1 maybe, the .1 IP address. From .1 will talk to .2, .2 will talk to .3, and so on. It goes down the chain and finally comes back. When that happens, what we get is a very fast LAN speed communication. The WAN is the WAN, it doesn't matter. We are still passing through the WAN only one time. We are not using more bandwidth, but we get the speed of the LAN in terms of response. And the server doesn't get a denial of service attack on it because too many endpoints respond at the same time, right? So that's an interesting thing about our architecture. It is unique, it's patented. Beyond that, what we do additionally here is that since we are already talking down the endpoint chain, why not ask the endpoint to help me implement a neighborhood watch so that any new endpoint that's joined the organization, and it may be new, it may be an endpoint that is not new but has a dead agent, or it may be an endpoint that never got the agent installed, the neighbor will know, right? Actually, you will know best when your neighbor's house is empty, and when a new neighbor moves in, you know best how many people have moved into the house, right? Same concept. We are using a neighborhood watch. We will find the endpoint. As a result, we will help the customer get visibility on all of the endpoints so that they can manage it properly. So this is a big one. And then what we do then is we are able to ask, know, and act, and we can respond extremely fast, right? So that's the Tanium capability in terms of crisis management. So we do this for vulnerability management, zero-day vulnerabilities. So there are some examples in the website below. You can see we do we do help many customers with zero-day vulnerabilities. In addition, when we talk about threat response to breaches, right? When customers, it clicked wrongly. When threat response to breaches, when customers traditionally build a SOC, they pipe the log to a log file, and then lately many vendors have come along and say, EDR, pipe it to my data lake will do the job for you. What Tanium does that's very different is that since we can ask and know in seconds what's going on, we actually can leave the data on the endpoint. We don't need to bring it to a central log. And that ensures that you get the latest data, you get heightened situational awareness of the incident. Okay, and then you can automate the action using a SAW. So if we can see everything and if we can ask, know, and act and we build it on a single server and a single agent, actually, guess what? We have linked to every single endpoint now. We can actually build many, many, many use cases. We can be an asset manager. We can be a vulnerability manager. We can help with compliance. We can do patching and so on. We have many, many use cases. Basically, I can only fit 15 in this slide. We can replace many, many vendors in the customer's organization. Okay, so then the question becomes, why partner with Tanium, right? I'll give you 3 slides on this. The first is that there's only one architecture to maintain. With that one architecture that communicates to all endpoints, we build many use cases. What that means to you as a partner is that if you bring us into one of your accounts, that account is going to be sticky with you. Because the next thing that Tanium sells, we will be loyal to that first partner because there's only one server. So if you bring us to your customer and you win that customer, future deals with that customer will always be with you. Okay, that's the first point. The second point is this. Our solution is highly differentiated, especially at the top tier, right? This is where the problem of not knowing what assets, how many endpoints I have in the organization, this is where the customer faces the most problem. We are highly differentiated there. We are highly compelling for the customer. If you can sell to this batch of customers, what you will find is our initial deal size is going to be easily $1 million USD. And the expansion deal size is about 500,000. This is what we have experienced when we did our initial deals in Singapore. Okay, and then again, I want to reiterate, right? The first reseller who brings us that deal in that one account really gets to be very sticky with us because the expansion deal will always be with that first reseller as well. Okay, the third reason is maybe if you look on the other side of the coin, right? What are your customers going to do? Actually, I'm of the opinion that sooner or later, the large organizations will get to know about Tanium. And when they get to know about Tanium, they will ask themselves, do I want to build the legacy architecture, or do I want to build the Tanium architecture that is streamlined, fast, speedy, and possible for them to resolve their problems quickly? And we think that it's a matter of time. They will adopt Tanium if they are large enough because it's very compelling. So I hope you can partner with us so that we can help you win more business together. Thank you very much for your time today.